the Mandalorians Explosion Network's Aftershow, breaking down, discussing, and reviewing each episode of the Disney Plus original series, The Mandalorian. My name is Dylan Blight. Joining me, Ashley Hobley.
Hey Dylan, excited to be here to talk about the best two villains in Star Wars this year.
Jason Sudeikis.
And Adam Pauly, yep.
Before we jump into the episode, I do want to give video viewers a heads up that I wore my brand new Yeetle shirt and then didn't think it through. Yeetle's green. I have a green screen. I feel obligated to point that out. So Yeetle is now brown.
I mean, now that we're on the air and I think about it, you could have just taken the green screen down.
No, because my room's a mess behind me. So, I mean, that's the secret of all green screen.
Which one is more important, your messy room or Yeetle looking proper?
It's fine. It's part of the joke now. It's fine. So this is the last episode of The Mandalorians and also The Mandalorian. There you go. That was a sentence.
Yep.
The synopsis I wrote down for this week's episode. The Mando and crew attempt to survive the onslaught of Moff Gideon and his troopers. They manage to survive thanks to IG-11, who sacrifices himself. And the series ends with the Mando heading off to find Yeetle's home and the reveal that Moff Gideon has the Darksaber. What the fuck? We'll get to that in quite a moment, of course. The episode is Chapter 8, Redemption, directed by Taika Waititi and written by Jon Favreau. So, Ashley Hobley, what were your overall thoughts on this week's episode? Any standout moments to stick out to you? How do you feel about the series wrapping up as a whole as well, I guess?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Obviously, strong opening, very Taika Waititi opening with the two scout troopers, having the conversation. They got theirs, which I'm very happy about.
Yep.
And then, there's a lot of action, a lot of fun. We got a bit more Mandalorian history. We saw his face. We got buff looking R2-D2.
Yeah, that was weird.
That was so weird. And then we got that reveal at the end, which had barely any significance to me until my brother, who was watching at the same time, who'd watched Rebels, explained why that was such a big deal.
Yeah, so I got this episode. I feel like this episode, in a lot of ways, explained. And I've been feeling this way recently just because of recent Star Wars things anyway. I'm like, what kind of Star Wars fan am I? I'm going to be honest and feel like the stuff that gets me excited, like Easter eggy and like random stuff happening, is always shit that's to do with extended universe stuff, which I count the animated shows as extended universe stuff, right? That's the stuff that has me super excited. I go on Twitter and people are getting super excited about the real, I would say, mad joke of the stormtroopers missing the fucking shots over and over, because that's obviously
we'll get to that. I have a theory about
what you have a theory about. What was it?
My theory is joke? Their equipment is shit, and that's why they always miss.
They're the shit. It was just a joke. It was literally just a joke. But
he just shakes these. He shakes the blaster. It's like
he's like, it's like my shoelaces.
What's more likely? Every single stormtrooper is a shit shot, or the equipment is all terrible.
They're all got improperly trained. Is likely. I don't think it even says anything. I think it was just a joke for joke's sake. That whole scene was one big joke. So, but my point was that I feel like a lot of people were like, for whatever reason, finding that hilarious, and that was like a standout moment for some reason. And then I'm like over here losing my shit about Darksaber. I gotta say, this episode easily my favorite of the series. I was like, it was just from start to finish, the action, the banter between everyone, the amount of moments that had me like sitting on the edge of my seat, and then the reveal at the end, which literally had me being like that was my one like oh shit moment, I guess, as a massive Clone Wars and Rebels fan, obviously. So I think this is easily my favorite episode. Taika Waititi did a very good job with bringing it home, I guess. And the other thing is, I guess, like for a series altogether, obviously listening to this, we've had like some episodes. I don't know what my full ranking would be. I can't be fucked. We're not really doing it. I can't be bothered doing that. But like this is up there, and then obviously it's like episode 3, I guess, and then 4, 6 something. I don't know, whatever it is. But a lot of people I've also seen have been like, well, why couldn't the whole series be like this? And I feel like there's a group that like very much feel like they loved episodes like 1, 2, 3, and then 7, 8.
Yeah.
And then all the ones in between, they're like, that was all filler, it was all shit. But which I find silly because I'm like, how can you watch the last couple episodes and not realize that he literally meets the crew that is then in the finale over those quote unquote filler episodes.
Cara Dune is the only one he meets during those episodes.
And Quill? Episode 2?
No, he met him episode 2, which he said was a good episode.
It comes back. And then there's Cara Dune.
Yeah.
And then there's the character building that makes you go
said
from
1, 2, and 3, 7, and 8 are the ones that people think is good because that's the story.
Yeah, and everyone says 4, 5, and 6 is filler. 4's definitely not filler. We need Cara Dune, right?
Yes.
So then everyone's saying 5 and 6 is filler. But 5, look, 5 I think is the weakest link. And I think 5 is the weakest link.
Which one is 5 again?
Tatooine.
Oh, yeah.
Tatooine,
that could have implications.
Yeah.
Potentially.
I mean, and we talked about that obviously in the episode, and I'm still going to put it in that bottle simply because I have experience with Dave Filoni produced shows before. And the reveal at the end of that episode, as far as this season wrapped, we haven't seen why that was relevant. Okay? So, and you could be like, oh, but obviously it was Moff Gideon because they didn't come back to it. No. As I said when we talked about the stupid space whales from Rebels, that took an entire season or 2 later to come back to.
I don't think that... It doesn't make sense that it would be Moff Gideon.
No. At the time I said it was because I thought they were just going to wrap it up next week and show it was him or something like that.
But no,
right?
They left it dangling.
But now we've seen the whole series and they're still left it dangling. I'm saying that's going to come back in the future. And that was relevant as a future thing. That whole Tatooine episode just seems really weird, but hopefully by the time we look at it like a year from now or whatever, we'll be like, oh, this character, she's back. And then also I think that I really like the prison ship episode, obviously. Just as a general adventure, I really like that episode. But then at the same time, I'm like, that episode does the most to show you that the Mando isn't the same person that they all think he is. Show that he's changed. Which I'm like, that's important. It's not filler. That's character.
It gives backstory as well. You kind of get an understanding. He ran with the crew for a period of time. And you saw that's probably the episode where he gets to be the most badass, probably, arguably.
Yeah, kicks all those droids' asses and stuff.
Takes all the people out one by one.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I don't know. Like I said, if it doesn't pertain to the A plot, I think some people struggle with that.
Yeah.
Especially now, I don't know. Yeah, it's so weird why those type of episodes are like sometimes the most important. They're like character building episodes.
Yeah.
It's episodes like that make you care about the characters.
Exactly. Exactly. Because
if you just want to hear a story, cool. But if you want to like fall in love with the show, you need those kind of episodes, I think.
Yeah. I don't know what shows like. I understand if people want something like Watchmen or whatever that's just like a very long thing or like Stranger Things or
even
whatever.
Even that had episodes that you would say that doesn't really
filler.
Yeah, I know, but they're in that like they're all side tangenty rather than direct. Yeah. You know?
But I feel like they're more directly like this is important, whereas the Mando like subtly explaining character beats isn't in your face like this is important. You know, it's more like you should be paying attention. They're literally talking about his past and how he's saying how he used to kill everyone without a second thought. And then the episode ends with him not killing everyone. It's a character story. Yeah. Who'd have thought? Yeah. What the fuck? Like, I don't know. I think it's...
Yeah.
It says something.
I think the 8-episode run doesn't help either. You know? But...
It's fucking 8 episodes. They're not writing filler for filler's sake. You know? It's 8 episodes because it's 8 episodes. They could have done 10 episodes and had 2 episodes of filler, but it's 8 episodes because that's what he wanted to write. I don't think he was forced.
If you want, it could just be 5 episodes.
Yeah.
But we got an extra 3 episodes of good Mandalorian content.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it's not filler? Like, what are you... I don't know. Anyway, let's get into this week's actual episode. The final ruling on that is nothing's filler in this show. So get over it. So the episode starts with what was talking about. The scouts racing back on their bikes after we saw them pick up Yeetle at the end of last week's episode, obviously. Yeetle's in a bag. In the credits, we find out that these two are voiced by Adam Poley and Jason Sudeikis.
So we're sure they weren't there on the day? They weren't acting?
It said voiced. So
okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. I think it was other people, yeah. Which, I mean, that's a lot of this show. We know that Pedro Pascal isn't in the suit like a whole time either. Yeah. So it's just kind of
didn't Bryce Dallas Howard came out and said she didn't work with Pedro Pascal in her episode?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he just does the voice for the majority of it and whatever else. So that's the way the show's going. I don't really mind.
He was definitely in the suit. One's seen in this episode.
Yeah. No, we know he's in it, but it definitely seems like he was in it for like 50%, but he's doing the voice. Yeah. But like, it's Star Wars, and literally one of Star Wars' most prominent characters isn't in the fucking suit that he voices. I'm talking about Darth Vader. And no one has a problem with that. You know what I mean? David Prowse is in the suit. He voiced the character in the original Star Wars movie. George Lucas then voiced over him, never told him, and then he got really shitty later. That is the history. Of Star Wars.
I mean,
you find behind the scenes
kind of shitty stuff you'd want.
Yeah, you find behind the scenes footage of him like going down there. You know, like it sounds ridiculous. It's so different than all the Chewbacca stuff, like on set. I guess you know, original time they're recording. They don't know they're going to dub over Chewbacca later with Chewie sounds, and Peter Mayhew's going to do some of them, but like it's also some of it's special effects, like. Reverby type stuff sound happening effect, or whatever else. But on set, he's like, "Hey, Han, mate, can you pass me the bloody wrench and stuff like this?" I mean, it's Star Wars history to have actors there and not there in voiceover. So yeah, whatever. It's not nothing to worry about, everyone. We can all calm down. So they're racing back and they pull up like 100 yards, whatever, I don't know, from the opening gate to the city. And they call in and they're like, we want confirmation that it's okay for us to enter the town. And he gets a call back from a captain or whoever, I guess, saying that, no, not yet. Moff Gideon's just shot someone for interrupting him. So straight away, you're like, Moff Gideon's a fucking...
This guy's a
dick. I mean, he's just killing people for pissing him off. But quickly forget about Moff Gideon because straight away Jason Sudeikis' voice trooper starts whacking Yeetle on the head for moving around and whatever else.
Worse villain than Palpatine. More evil than Palpatine.
More interesting than Palpatine, that's for sure. That was my one strike. I was trying not to. I'm leaving it out of the show. I'm not having it. They have a bit of banter back and forth and whatever else. The other one really wants to see Yeetle and it's like, no, you can't see it, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I mean, I would too. I'd be like, what the fuck did we just pick up? They then have the shooting thing we was talking about before, where the one after he gets told he can't look at the sides, he'll just try and shoot at something on the ground. He misses about 10 times, then the other one pulls out the gun and shoots it about 10 times, which as far as I'm concerned,
faulty equipment.
It's just a joke. It is just a joke.
I know it's just a joke, but if you want to play it serious.
Yeah, I think it's a bad joke though. Like I think
it's a fan service joke.
I personally, I mean, let me rule this so in case people start getting annoyed at me, like, oh, you don't have any human left on. It didn't annoy me watching it, right? I'm not saying it annoyed me watching it or anything like that. It just didn't make me laugh because I think I personally are at the stage where this type of Star Wars fan servicey jokes don't work for me anymore because they
already did it once this season.
Hey,
they already did it once this season with the Bill Burr joke.
Yeah. See, I'm more appreciative of like his jokes were better. Like the whole like, what are you, a Gungan under there? That was funny because that isn't as like fan servicey as this. I feel like the whole like Canto Bite mention joke and even the whole actually his joke in general about being able to hit shots is better than this. Like. And if that's the one they're going to have a whole season, I would have rather have been that than come back around and do it this way again. You know, it's like it's the same joke, just being told differently and not as good or funny. Because I laughed in that one where he did it because he went off screen and yelled back like, "I'm not a stormtrooper." it was funny.
Yeah.
I like that one. That one worked for me. This one does not work. Anyway, moving on. So they're like, oh, we better check on Yeatle, make sure he's okay. You know, what if he's hurt? I've seen him move for a while, blah, 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 blah. They open up the bag. Yeatle bites Adam Polly's one on the finger because we all know that Yeatle's a cannibal. Does what's necessary.
He likes to bite things.
Likes to bite things. And then right then, as I somewhat guessed would happen last week, IG-11 shows up. But I thought this was obviously going to happen in the middle of town or something, but this is outside the town. And straight away starts explaining that he's the child's nanny and he needs his property returned. Like, that's pretty much it. Not like, I'll kill you. It's just, I'm the child's nanny. You have the child. Give it back and,
I mean, how did that happen, though?
Hey? Yeah.
How did that happen?
Well, that's what he got
Why wasn't he with them the whole entire time if that was his prime directive?
Because he got told by his maker, I guess, which is Quill, to stay on the
he never
ship.
saw, unless you saw him get killed, I guess.
He saw Quill get killed, and then I guess his secondary directive then...
with his dying breath.
Yeah.
He radioed him.
Maybe. It's possible. Yep. Either way, he finds him. So then IG-11, he shows up and he beats... The scouts refuse, obviously. So then IG-11 beats the shit out of him.
Crap out of him, yeah. That was pretty good.
That was pretty good to see them get whacked.
Well, he just lift him up and smashes him repeatedly on the speed.
Just repeatedly on the side of the bike. And then he takes one of the bikes with Yeatle in the bag and straps him onto the back of him or whatever. And they take off. And then the credits, the opening sequence then shows like redemption. And it was one of those moments, you know, sometimes you're watching an episode and they haven't had the opening yet and you kind of forget. Yeah. And then it came up and I was like, oh, we haven't had the title card yet.
It hasn't started yet.
Yeah, it hasn't actually started yet. So I was like, okay, there we are. So
good
then we go back. Yeah. We then go back to the bar where the three left there, Grief, Mando, and Carl, still trying to work out how to escape, of course. Mando says escaping to a sewers where we can find a Mando covert would be a good plan. All, of course, playing into what we theorized was going to happen last week. So I was like, okay, I'm watching this. I'm like, tick, tick, tick. I mean, the show obviously went in new directions eventually, but at the moment I'm like, we're fucking hitting on marks here. Mando does a pulse scan, I guess, something along those lines, and finds an entrance to the sewers. And they
used his predator vision.
Yeah, predator vision, yeah. He scans, they find an entrance, but they can't manage to get it open. The Imperials are shooting up this huge blaster outside, and Gideon then begins calling everyone out by name and history by history, sort of as a way to, I guess...
Show off.
Show off and, like, I guess threaten them by being like, I know who you all are. But then, of course, it works for the viewers as a, like... We get some bits of information about every character here in a way within the show that works. So he says Cara Synthena June, who was born on Alderaan.
Is it Cynthia or Cynthia?
Synthena? I'm not actually sure how they pronounce it, but I wrote it down how it was subtitled on screen. So however you want. The spelling's correct in notes.
Jon Favreau's a big Rugrats fan.
Maybe. Yeah. However we want to go.
Do you get that joke? No?
Yeah, the child, whatever. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I haven't watched Rugrats since I was, let's be honest, probably 14. It's not even that long. I was about to say, since I was 8, but I was like, that's a lie. That's a lie. I tried watching the adult one. Anyway, thing. Alderaan. So, I like the Alderaan thing because I think that adds a lot to her character being so committed to the cause, but it also, like, says a lot about how it also explains more about like how her getting shitty with the New Republic and wanting to leave them. Because you could picture survivor of Alderaan, planet's blown up. She doesn't join the rebellion as I'm here to help the galaxy become a better place. She joins the rebellion as a revenge mission, you know?
Yes.
So that says a lot about her character.
So she's out for blood. She's like one of those people wanting them to go after them into the unknown regions. Yeah.
Yeah. She's definitely, we've seen it. Like even the previous episode where they pick her up, what's she doing? She's fighting for money. She's someone who is just thirsting for a fight. And a lot of that is obviously going to come from the fact that presumably her family was fucking blown up all at once, along with her friends and her where she grew up and everything in a burst. So But it also, to not get too far ahead, that also makes like where they leave her at the end of the season. I'm like, fuck, she's such an interesting character. Can I just please have more with her? Like, because they're like, oh, she might only be in 2 episodes next season. I'm like, fuck, give me a book or something. I need more information. Yeah. Then we get Grief Karga. Not really much new about him, apart from the fact he's a disgraced magistrate, is what we find out. Which I'm like, is he disgraced because of something else, or is he disgraced because he became a bounty hunter or something? You know what I mean? Like, what's he disgraced for?
Yeah,
for whatever reason. But I guess that's a string to pull on later. And then most importantly, we find out Mando's real name, which was leaked ahead of time. But and I did know this as soon as we started the series. I just never brought it up, obviously, because I was like, it's not. I didn't think it was important. Yeah, Simon messaging me. Why didn't you include the? It's not important, Simon. Yeah, I never thought it was important, and I still don't think it's like super important now. I guess like the name has no.
It doesn't meaning.
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, the name has no meaning to it that I'm aware of, and it carries no connotations for anything. So that's where I'm like. I didn't see the point of spoiling it ahead of time and just waiting to see if it was 100% true, you know? And now we know, Din Djarin, cool.
Not a very cool name.
It's
not as cool as Mando.
Mando. Well, that's my other problem. It's going to take me, I'm definitely not going to fix it this episode because that's too soon, but it's definitely going to take me at some degree next season to stop calling him Mando and maybe start just calling him Din instead. No. Just don't even bother.
Especially if nobody else calls him Jin in the show.
I mean,
if everybody keeps calling him Mando,
maybe someone will eventually, though. You know, maybe someone eventually is going to be like, "Hey, Din." I don't know. Nah, everyone's just going to call him Mando. Let's be real. But they had a cool part following that.
What did the other Mandalorians call him then?
I don't think they ever referred to him directly,
because he said he hadn't heard that name in years.
I mean, the lady later says it. She knows it, obviously. Okay. But otherwise, I think I'd have to go back and watch. But I'm like, I don't think anyone ever like calls him anything. They just speak to him.
If he's standing in a group and you want to talk to just him, how do you?
They would say his name. They know his name. Like that's what I'm saying. She knows it, so it's not a secret. But we've never heard anyone.
Nobody's ever asked for him, I guess, by name.
Not that we've seen, at least. Not that we've seen in the show. I like how Grief then asked how he can be a Mando if he wasn't born on Mandalore, though following this. And then Kara sums it up for the whole audience by saying Mandalorians aren't a race. Because
it's a creed.
It's a creed. Which, by the way, I've seen people online, several people, like a lot to these getting heaps of retweets, and everyone's making the same crappy joke, in my opinion, about being like, oh, he said Creed and fucking what's his face was in Rocky. No. I really don't think they were going for that.
That's a bit of a stretch.
I think that's a big stretch. I don't think that's a joke they were going for. If
it was in Creed.
Yeah. I think that's a stretch. Anyway. So now we get a full flashback, finally. And this was another fucking fantastic part of the show. Because we get to see everything in full now. And the reveal of who saves him was like this for me. For you, it would have been like, oh, cool. But for me, I was like,
cool.
I was like, oh my God, what's going on?
Did we see the robots before this, like, properly?
In the background, yeah.
I don't like them.
The Clone Wars ones? We've seen them in Clone Wars before.
I don't like them.
You've seen them in Attack of the Clones, like the movie. They're in Attack of the Clones, the movie.
That design, I don't think so.
The B1, I think they're B1s.
I don't know. They just did look good.
They look like how they look to me, so I don't know. Anyway, we see the full flashback. So Din, I was about to say Mando, but I mean he's Din at this stage. So Din is being carried by his parents. Of course, explosions, stuff happening. Planet is unknown. They have an overhead shot here in a second, and I did pause it, and I'm like, should I recognize this? It sort of looks like, Naboo-ish structure-wise, but I'm like, I could just be trying to connect too many dots in my head, so I'm just going to go with it's an unknown planet for now. but he's carried. His parents put him in this bunker thing or whatever. Shit's blowing up everywhere. And then that closes, and of course we've seen this part before. As soon as it closes, everything explodes. Parents presumably died by the droid. The doors then open up again. Battle droid there. Super B1. I think it's B1. I can't be bothered checking. Opens up, and then out of somewhere gets destroyed. Of course, we was theorizing in episode 2, 3, whatever. That was 3, I think, last time we saw it. Was theorizing in episode 3, would it be a Jedi? Would it be a Mandalorian? At the time, I was saying it would be weird if it was Mandalorians, because I'm like, why the hell would they be on a different planet saving people? But now that I see who saves him, it actually all makes sense to me, because he was saved by Mandalorians, several coming down. And if you're watching the show and you have no connection for any of this, you may be like, oh, they're all wearing the same armor and they've got the same clan symbol on the arm. What are they all from? So they're all Clan Vizsla Mandalorians. And these Mandalorians would presumably at this time period, like sitting it in like roughly with Clone Wars and all these sorts of things, would all be part of Death Watch, which was a group led by Pre Vizsla, who was a character in the Clone Wars animated series, who was voiced by none other than Jon Favreau. That was how he met Dave Filoni for the first time. He had him voice this character Pre Vizsla on the Clone Wars, and Pre Vizsla and Death Watch were actually bad guys in the animated show. They were kind of like rebellion group on Mandalore, trying to like they thought what they were fighting for was good, obviously, but they were also then kind of committing terrorist acts to overthrow the current ruling government, and Obi-Wan ends up going there to kind of help out in these sorts of things. It's also important to note, and I'm not going to get into it now because we'll get into it later, but the thing that shows up at the end of this episode first shows up in Star Wars ever in Pre Vizsla's hands, Jon Favreau's character throwing that saber around that we'll discuss in quite some time. So there's lots of connect the dots here, you know what I mean? And a lot of it, as soon as I see, I'm like, of course, it's Death Watch. Of course, it's fucking character he voiced.
You're saying he was rescued by villains?
They're villain. That's what I'm saying. They're villains, but they're like, what? I can't think of the.
Do you expect more of this backstory to be explained in Clone Wars season 7?
Possibly. No, not in Clone Wars season. Oh, I wouldn't say this backstory per se. However,
just Mandalore. General.
We're seeing more Mandalore. 100% more Mandalore in Clone Wars Season 7. We know for a fact. Because
from images I've seen, Pre Vizsla is wearing his helmet. Correct? Doesn't wear his helmet at points.
I mean, he has it, but they take it off. And so, yeah, the Death Watch wasn't, you got to keep your helmets on at all time. If that's where you're going with this. Yeah.
Yes, so maybe they can explain that shift. The other bit of trivia I found was, that character that we...
which is missing a letter.
Voiced.
Spelt differently.
Paz Vizsla without the S.
Which...
So... I think it's just a mistake on the...
I legit... I'm not even joking.
In the credits?
We just brought this up, obviously, in episode 3 when I saw it in the credits, and was all like, is that Jon Favreau? Vanity Fair confirmed it was Jon Favreau. So then it seems that Jon Favreau is voicing a descendant of Pre Vizsla, and possibly the only remaining descendant of the Vizsla clan at this point during Mando, after what happens in the Mandalore siege that we're going to see in Clone Wars, possibly. And then, not at the end of Rebels, so would make more sense. But yeah, the fact that one letter's spelt differently, I'm like, that just has to be a spelling mistake. I'm like, that has to just be a spelling mistake. Someone just fucked up and they forgot a letter.
Maybe, or it's like one of those generational things. Like sometimes,
yeah. I mean, that could be it.
Translation.
Either way, it's spelt so close that it's no way it's not either a spelling mistake or just a descendant thing.
What's the time difference again? It's like 30 something years
between like this and Clone Wars. Yeah, it's like 30 something. I mean,
yeah.
So it's long enough, but like so. It's so hard to keep up with. So like him in that flashback is obviously taking place during the Clone Wars time, right? When he's a child. This happened during the Clone Wars, separatist attacking and shit. Whether or not this is taking place after, how long before that episode, that arc in Clone Wars, it could be taking place the day before. It could be taking place a year before. I fucking don't know, right? So from that point on, spoilers for that arc, but the Jedi's help defeat Death Watch. I mean, go watch it anyway, but I mean, the bad guys lose, right? And the Darksaber ends up shaking hands and whatever else. But tracking forward to the last actual time we know of Mandalore currently canon is actually in Rebels, which is right before, which ends right before kind of Rogue One-ish time, which of course is right before A New Hope time anyway. The last stuff we see happening on Rebels in that is that there is like a small group fighting back against the Empire on that planet. So Moff Gideon is not a character that I know. However, they could potentially, considering Moff Gideon's obviously quite old, like, I mean, he's playing, they didn't pick a young actor to play the dude, right? They could have him show up in Clone Wars and it wouldn't be a stretch, you know?
Yeah.
Just saying. He could show up. Even just for a hot minute as a goon. You know, like a
it definitely makes sense.
Something.
From what we understand of who Gideon is now.
Yeah. Because Mando explains that he knows him.
This Paz Vizsla thing, I think why we're missing the S is he was going through one of those custom things. He was trying to give him his name, you know, and they just couldn't be bothered putting the extra letter in.
Yeah, they just fucked it up. I mean,
you know, it's like people immigrating to America back in the day. They just changed people's names willy-nilly.
I mean, maybe it's that simple. We're just overthinking it.
Solo,
anyway,
people.
Oh, please don't fucking start.
Your name is Han Solo.
Your name is Ray Solo. That's my second strike. 3 and I shut down the podcast.
And we're throwing a bunch of curveballs in. Trying to get that third strike.
Either way, flashback, Jon Favreau's character, not his character, but pre-Vizsla's clan, Death Watch, all sorts of cool things, right? And by the way, all of this tie-in stuff doesn't feel forced at all, and that's why I like it, because it all just works. And that's important.
Well, for me, who has no history, it still works. Who has no backstory on the
and this is why every time they're like, oh, we couldn't do too much connected stuff to expanded universe stuff in the movies, it'll piss off people who don't read the books. I was always like, you just have to do it correctly. And how they do it in this is where the first time you watch the episode, you can perfectly understand what's going on. And then when you go on the internet or you sit down with someone like me who's like, hey, this is the who, the what, the where, the why, you don't go, oh, I missed really important information. It simply enhances, and then you can watch it again and be like, oh, or, you know, like it doesn't ruin it. So it's just how you do it. It's how you tie in the stuff that people may not know. You know what I mean?
I think people are more willing to do that with a TV show than a film, though.
But I'm saying if this was a movie, if this was a movie one of a series, and the same storyline happened,
I mean,
would have
to
been
be
fine.
fair, there's been a ton of Rise of Skywalker articles. Most of them talking about how bad the movie is, but there have been things explaining stuff as well. So,
and that's not even extended universe stuff. That's all shit from the Visual Dictionary. Which is even worse because no one knew it until literally after reading it. Anyway, so they come back to real time. Mando calls in for Quill one more time, and IG-11 answers. Mando, of course, is angry at first. And it's like, what are you doing? And he's like, no worries. I got the child. I'm coming to save you. I'm definitely saving the child by bringing him to the fight.
That seems like a conflict of interest.
Yeah, it very much does.
I'm protecting the child
by bringing it to the fight.
I'm going to come into this massive violent area.
Literally doesn't make any sense. Either way, it leads to a really cool action scene, so whatever.
Hell yeah.
IG blasts into town on his bike, just shooting people left, right, and center, ends up in the middle of the place there. The bike flies off, it explodes, starts spinning around, shooting everyone. Shit's great. Of course, since like the fight's already kind of started, everyone else inside the bar's like, I guess we're shooting our way out.
Shooting each other now.
Might as well go for it. So Mando heads out.
That big gun that we're talking about at the start of the episode.
Yeah.
Is that a thing previously?
Yeah, I think the first time it shows up is in like Empire or Jedi, one or the others, and it's been in lots of other stuff since. Like it's a known gun, but it's, by the way, like this is one of those other really tiny nerdy details. The only reason we know it's an E-web is because that's what it's called in visual dictionaries and novels and toys, right? No one in Star Wars, as far as I'm aware, has ever said the words E-web. So when Moff Gideon's out there saying, I've got an E-web city up, I'm like, did he just say E-web? Like, no one ever says the name of shit in the actual products usually. It's always just like on the toys, mostly. Because, I mean, that's how everyone knew the name of characters and stuff, like from the 70s anyway. And that's kind of a continued tradition somewhat, even with new Star Wars. It's like, what's this called? Well, the toy says it's this, or the visual dictionary says it's this. But, I mean, the name of a gun isn't super important to a movie's plot anyway, so it's like, that's fine that you can find out the name of that on something else, but it's still funny how they actually say it in this. That feels like Jon Favreau just like showing off his nerd cred a bit and being like, I wrote E-web into the actual script, you know, like, it also comes back to that stupid ice cream container thing that they had all the Beskar in from Empire Strikes Back. Like, no one knows what the fuck that is apart from that's like a random Star Wars container. But of course, for people who brought toys of that character because they've turned him into toys, they're like, what's the ice cream container thing? It's weird. Mando jumps on the E-web though, begins shooting everyone. Everyone's out there shooting everyone. Kara's inside fighting freaking Death Troopers. I thought he had more of them, by the way. Like 2 come in, and I was like, wasn't last episode there was like 4 or 5 or 6 or something? Whatever. In case I blinked, maybe IG took some out and I just missed it on his like charge into town. But yeah, either way.
They moved around a fair bit.
Yeah. I mean, there wasn't as many
lined up for him.
Wasn't as many as normal stormtroopers either way. They're all fighting and shit. They mock Gideon because he's a badass, just like kind of creeps up behind Mando. Well, doesn't really creep up. He's just like,
he just walks
fuck
up.
Are you doing? Just like literally walks up to him. I like how they filmed it though, because he points his blaster first at Mando, thinks for a hot second, goes, that's a stupid idea. It's a Mandalorian wearing Beskar armor.
Well, he already shot him once.
Oh, he does too. He like bang, and but he learns then, which is good. And they show you that he learns. He's like bang, that didn't work. Then like he looks down at the, what'd you call it? I guess
it's the generator or whatever it's called.
Yeah, generator point, I guess. Yeah. Which he's like, yeah. Then he shoots that, sends Mando flying backwards.
Massive explosion. Shit goes everywhere. So then everyone else. Kara grabs Mando, and then we all retreat back into the inside the bar or whatever the hell. I've been calling it a bar because I think it was, right. I mean, I think it was a bar. That's where it was taking place. Anyway. I mean, while they're deliberating whether they should attack or not, Grief's like pouring herself a couple of drinks.
That's right. Yeah, so it's definitely a bar. That's definitely a bar. Yeah, I forgot. You're right. He does take a shot there at one stage. Yeah, that's true. So a flame trooper. Well, before he enters, he calls for the flame trooper. While this is all happening, Mando's like, I'm done for. Kara, take off, take Grief, take the baby. Let's get the hell out of here. Yeedle's on the ground. Flame trooper enters the building, goes to light them all on fire. I really like the way the sequence is shot too, because then we get this nice behind Yeetle shot happening where he uses the force to stop the fire, and I like how they cut back to him for a split second just to see him like wave his arms upwards and then send all of the flame bursting back into the flame trooper. I thought that was a nice I enjoyed the way they shot it. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. So Yeetle saves them all, but then this does unfortunately mean that any chance of, because of up until this point I was like, Yeetle's just going to save Mando, right? I mean, we know he heals people. It's a thing. We saw it happen last
Grief
week.
even says, we'll just get him to heal him. Just puts his hands up, and then Yeetle's.
He's like, I can't. Yeah, he's like, high five. Oh, you're too cute, Yeetle. But yeah, unfortunately, Yeetle using the force to stop the flame does mean that he is depleted of force energies at the moment. A lot of times, Yeetle runs like a video game character. He needs to recharge.
Just short bursts.
Force abilities. So IG, Kara, they talk a little bit more, and then IG says he's going to stay behind with Mando. Kara takes off with Grief into Subway. Subway?
Is this yours? Yeah.
What did I write Subway for? That doesn't make sense. Sewers is the proper word. Into sewers below. IG stays behind. And then we get this sequence where he wants to take his helmet off to heal the Mando, obviously. Yep. But Mando is like, A, no, that's against my creed. And B, I don't trust droids, obviously, which is something that we know.
Well, he doesn't say it, but...
we know that. He don't trust droids.
We know that. Yeah.
For shit. Then he says something, he can't take off his helmet in front of any living beings or whatever. And then IG says, I'm not a living being. So then the Mando seems to click onto that. And then he lets him take his helmet off, and we do get to see Pedro Pascal for the first time. I like the way they made him look and everything too. Like, it wasn't like, better make him look like really heroic or something like that. It's just like,
he looks like he's been beat the shit up.
Yeah. It's like, here's a dude who just got thrown fucking halfway across outside there by a huge blast. His hair looks like shit because he wears a helmet all the time. He's got blood pouring out the back of his head, and he just looks tired and over it. You know? So, and I guess for a lot of people, maybe it would have helped. I'm not one of these people, but I feel like for a lot of people, if they'd seen Pedro's face earlier, it might have helped them get more attached to him as a character. I feel like I didn't need that because I know Pedro Pascal. As soon as the show starts, I'm obviously, because I follow behind the scenes stuff. I'm like, I know who's in the suit. I'm not someone randomly tuning in just like this stuff. I know who's in it. I can picture his face at all points. And I think that was kind of helping me get with the gist of what he could potentially look like under the helmet during some other emotional scenes. You know what I mean? Whereas people who maybe see the name Pedro Pascal, they have no idea who it is, don't bother looking it up. They don't have that subconscious ability to picture what he actually looks like.
Very tiny group nowadays.
I feel like it would be bigger than you think, to be honest. I think most film-y type people, or like people that we talk to, people in our crowds, people in Facebook groups that we're on, they're probably all in the know.
All the people who watch Game of Thrones, they're all out. Then,
no, I wouldn't even say that, because you're thinking that everyone that watches Game of Thrones knows every actor, especially an actor who was only in it for like 2 seasons. They know his name.
He's memorable enough to. Okay, 50%.
I even think that's too high, but sure. But this show, the most watched show, right? Its numbers are huge currently, like stream-wise. I think the numbers are so huge that the amount of people who would actually...
Not that huge. It's only available in 5 countries legally.
Wait, they're pretty fucking huge for a show that's only available in 5 countries, I'll tell you that. Overtook Stranger Things as the most streamed thing this year. Only available in 5 countries. Do the math on that. Ridiculous. But yeah, I think out of all those people, there would be... I think you're taking it for granted the amount of people who would actually be able to picture the actual actor under there, and how even if you're not consciously thinking about that I think subconsciously it helps you relate to the character. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like for a lot of people going into season 2, knowing that that's a guy,
that's
I know what he kind of looks like. I feel like that'll help subconsciously with people get more emotionally attached to his story going forward in the following seasons and things. You know?
I know there'll be a ton of people. Oh, he's a Latin man. I can't get behind him anymore.
Yeah, well, they're up fucking shit creek because we've got that other series coming. The what's his fucker one?
Well, maybe
Cassian Andor.
I've heard there's problems with that. So
there's problems with everything. Star Wars, tell me about it. I really enjoyed this scene. He applies back. IG-11 applies back.
Uses that magic spray.
Uses that old magic spray. Old Bacta. Yeah, Bacta spray.
Yep. You see it in Star Wars movies, and you see it in sports.
I mean, Bacta's a thing that's been in Star Wars forever. It's not like a magic spray they've randomly just invented. Literally from the original movies, it's like, oh, you lost an arm? Float in a tank of Bacta, you'll be right.
Yeah.
Your body got burned away? Have a Bacta bath once a day, she'll be right.
That's the water that was coming out of Finn in Last Jedi.
Yeah, he was in a Bacta tank.
Yeah.
Thing. Okay. Come on now, Ash. Keep up. Jeez Louise. But, I mean, for a guy who just got flown halfway, he appeared to have a lot of blood coming out the back of his neck. I'm still just like...
Enough to be bleeding through his helmet.
Yeah, I'm like... 2 sprays maybe? Like, do we need a Band-Aid? Like something else?
I don't know. Have you seen magic spray in sports? Like, especially in like soccer? 1 dose of magic spray, they stop rolling around.
Really?
Yep.
Okay. I mean, it works apparently. So.
Magic spray.
Magic spray. Back to spray, magic spray. It's all the same shit apparently.
Yep.
I also like the part here where IG, before he sprays him and all this stuff, he says the line, "You have suffered damage to your central processing unit." And Mando's like, basically says, "Yeah, no shit." And then IG's like, "That was a joke."
Yep.
I was trying to calm you down. Yeah, I enjoyed this part. So then Mando and IG meet up with the rest, which I was like, fuck, they move fast, considering how fast they managed to find them. Or I guess you could say that Mando knows his way around there a little bit better, so he was able to find them, I guess, or track them down or whatever, because they're all getting lost in the sewers.
Well, they were just being more cautious, you know?
Possibly, yeah. So they make their way to the Mandalorian covert, and they find nothing but empty helmets all sitting there, which look very reminiscent of a shot from Rebels, by the way, pretty much from last season Rebels. So you think they're all dead, but one emerges, the leader / armorer / whatever we call her.
I think they called her the armorer.
I think she's credited as the armorer, but I mean, from what we saw, she was also the leader of this covenant.
The armorer sounds cooler.
Yeah, the armorer. Yeah, and she explains. Because Mando starts spitting at first, going off at Grief. Like, did you cause this? Did you cause it? And Grief was like, no, after you escaped, like, everyone just calmed down. They stopped shooting. He's like, you know how it is. Like, whatever. Everyone back was like, I don't know.
Everyone can't get the bounty, then they don't care.
Yeah, they don't care anymore. So everyone just calmed down. But Mando was like real pissy at first. And then she comes out and explains that it wasn't him, wasn't the bounty hunters. It was the Imperials. When more of them started showing up, it sounds like they were...
he told them they needed to leave the planet.
Yeah, but they didn't for some reason. I was like, what the fuck, dude? Come on. This is the way? You damn liar. It wasn't the way at all. Jeez.
Maybe they didn't get time.
Maybe. I don't know how long it's been. Yeah, I don't know how soon more Imperials arrived and stuff. She does say, the armorer does say that it's possible that some made it off planet, which of course I guess is a like for what could happen in season 2.
Superman.
Like, could he run into more Mandalorians in random planets and following seasons and have team ups with them and stuff, I guess is what that's kind of saying. Dharma, though, is refusing to leave until all her work is done. Although she doesn't directly explain what her work is, it seems pretty obvious that her work is salvaging all of the Beskar off all of the armor, because, of course, the Beskar is their life. You know, it's sacred and whatever else, and she can't leave it for the Imperials / remnants of the Empire to get their hands on, or anyone else, really. She doesn't want anyone else to have it. They didn't discuss the child. And, well, like how she's like, is this the thing that has caused all this trouble? And then she like looks at it, and Mando explains how it's also the thing that's caused all the trouble. It's the foundling. I like how in this episode, the first time he's properly referring to Yeatle as a foundling. And then it's also he says that it's the thing that saved him, that he didn't mention in the 3rd episode when she talks to him, obviously. And then he explains how it's got powers, and then she says, "Oh, I've heard of beings like this that used to fight our kind years and years ago, called the Jedi." So then Mando's
no. "Oh, does she say Jedi?"
Yeah, she says Jedi. She does say the word Jedi, because my ears were like, "Oh, we heard the word Jedi mentioned in the show." You know, anyway, it's a keyword pickup. So then Mando's like, "Oh, Yeatle is an enemy then," and she's like, "No, he's not an enemy. He's, you know, once was, but doesn't mean he is," kind of thing. So she then tasks him. Pretty much, she finally gives the show a solid direction for what the fuck is going on, I guess, for like future seasons, which is, she says, either return him, find its home, return it to its people, or kind of have to kick it around for a while until it's of age to
raise
become
it in our ways.
Raise it in our ways and have it become an actual Mandalorian, which it's not of age yet, apparently. She says it's too young at 50 to be trained, which I don't know how she adds up. She's like, I don't know its species, but I will somehow figure out what the appropriate age for this unknown species is to be trained in the Mandalorian ways. I'm like, that don't make sense, but okay, sure, whatever.
Yeah.
To which Mando responds, "You expect me to search the entire galaxy and deliver this thing to enemy sorcerers?" I like how they called Jedi sorcerers as well. I was like, I like that. That's nice.
Yeah.
And she, of course, responds, "This is the way."
This is the way.
So the Mando then receives his signet finally. The fucker should double
Razorback?
is it Razorback? No, he ships Razorback. It's the Mudclaw, Mudhorn, I think.
That sounds right.
I think that sounds correct. The Mudhorn, which of course she was going to give to him originally. And if you've been up to date with behind the scenes before the series happened, you knew that that's what his signet was going to be anyway. Because anytime there was an interview with Jon Favreau at any event in the lead up to this series, he was constantly handing the interviewers like 50-cent size coins that had that symbol on it, and he never explained them all, and he apparently just would have them in his pocket any interview, even if it wasn't a Star Wars related thing. You know, like, here we're here to talk about Lion King, like, I heard you're doing Star Wars. He'd be like, have one. Like, what, this dude just got freaking these coins in his pocket anyway. So I feel like if he was up to date like I was, I knew that this was going to end up being his signet, because it's like, why the fuck would he have all these symbols on the back of the coins? And it's that the picture that on the back of Favreau's coins is literally how it looks in the show, the signet. So that all adds up. So she gives him the Mudhorn signet and then says, "You are a clan of two," which I feel like is a subtle but important detail, because Mando is now the founder of his own clan, officially, the Mudhorn clan, or whatever we're going to call it. I don't know. Clan of Din? I don't know. Like, whatever we're going to go for it. Little Yeetal's the second member of that, of course. So, yeah. Imperials are making their way down the halls at this stage. IG manages to stop a few of them, but of course more will be coming. So they're like, okay, best get the hell out of here. She then presents Mando with one last present, the Rising Phoenix, aka in layman's term, a fucking jetpack. But I was like, come on, Rising Phoenix. Let's calm down with the over the top examples, names of these things. They then head out and leave at the back of the sewers, leaving the armorer behind. And we cut back to her as they head out, and in a scene that I honestly thought they were going to kill her, but I was very happy to see that they chose not to, because seeing her sitting on the ground and then these stormtroopers all come in behind her, and I'm like, okay, they're just going to like cut to black, or like, you know, like the camera will pan out sideways and we'll hear like blaster shots or something, and she'll have died a warrior's death or whatever, I guess. I don't know, like protecting her Beskar or some shit. But no, she gets up and she beats the shit out of them. Not with guns, not with swords, not with anything. She kicks the shit out of them with her tools, literally. And I mean, it's quite brutal fight too, really, as far as fights go.
Might be my favorite scene in the series.
I don't know if it's my favorite scene. I think it's
my action sequence.
Yeah, I think it was my favorite fight scene for sure, just because of how brutal it was, and particularly two things: the fact that she chucks one of them into the
incinerator,
the furnace, the melting pot, whatever it is. I don't know what they're called. And then the fact that they then have that other shot where they show one of her tools literally smacking and breaking the stormtrooper's armor. I was like, fucking hell.
Through the helmet, yeah.
Through the helmet. I was like, that thing, like, I'm like, they don't show it. The show's not rated R, but I'm like, if that smashed the helmet,
that went the jaw.
I mean, that went straight into his skull or jaw or whatever it is. Like, that's some gnarly shit, is what it is. Fuck, hell. Yeah, that fight was really cool. It made me wonder, I'm like, oh, jeez, let's get some more fights like this. Hey, that was awesome. Like, how she used the tools and stuff.
Let's keep focusing on that Mandalorian.
Yeah, let's go back to her. Let's switch main characters. So then our crew, though, they find a boat out on like this lava river thing, and they're like, okay, cool, we'll head down this. It leads to somewhere.
Like, no,
we'll make our escape.
Lava never turns out well for heroes.
Yeah, never in any Star Wars. Stay away from lava. So they jump on that. They activate the astromech droid, which, as far as I'm aware, an astromech droid with arms and legs is not something I've seen or heard of before in Star Wars. I think this is new, and it looks very weird.
It does.
And the fact it just picks up the or
gondola. It's like a gondola thing.
Yeah, like a gondola thing straight away. And it's just like, okay, let's get going. I'm like, okay, like I guess this planet back in the day, they're just rich people would take merry gondola trips down the lava lake, I guess. Okay, that's weird. Anyway.
Yeah. Once they go through the sewers.
Yeah. What a lovely holiday, darling. Let's go down the sewers into the mirror thing. So the ferryman takes them down. They get like halfway down, and then Mando scans up ahead and sees that there's an entire platoon of stormtroopers waiting up for them ahead. IG explains that he's going to have to self-destruct now. I have to kill myself now. No, kill us with me because there's no way we can win. And if my job, like I can't. He basically explains as much as his current objective is to protect the child, his major. His main thing or whatever.
His prime directive is not to get captured.
His prime directive is not to get captured, which then suddenly means that he's just going to self-destruct. And Mando starts talking him down from it, which of course is a big character moment for Mando. The fact that he's trying to talk a droid down from killing itself.
Well, he did do in episode 1. It's like, but the emotions
for different purposes. Yeah, that was no. Don't do that. You may kill me. This was, don't do it. Generally, don't do it.
Yeah.
You saved my life. I want you around. And to the point that IG says that he's being sad, and Mando's like, no, I'm not. He's like, I've scanned you. I can tell you're upset. So that says a lot about how Mando's, of course, changed a lot over the journey of this series. IG then says that. IG then asks Mando to promise that he'll be able to protect the child, and Mando's like, yeah. What's going to happen? So then IG, instead of self-destructing right there and then, he walks through the lava out to the entranceway and then self-destructs there, blowing up the platoon of stormtroopers, of course sacrificing himself along the way, but saving our 4, I guess, but 3 main capable people to fight lives.
Plus the droid.
Yeah, plus lost the droid. We came back once. Our remaining hero... also... I always like give a little bit of props because Taika is like directing the episode and then also having to direct a character he's going to have to play, voice actor later and all that sort. So it would have been a confusing thing to shoot, I'm sure. Like okay, emotional. But he's also very good at directing things he's in, I guess. What helps.
Yeah.
The
Gog.
Yeah, he's literally in everything he's directs. So as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, that's true. Is he in Will the People?
Yeah.
Okay.
Small role at the start, but he is in it, yeah. I'm pretty sure he's just like one of those directors that likes putting himself in everything.
He gets jealous. That's what it is.
Possibly.
It's like, yous are all acting and having fun. I want to do that.
Yeah. So remaining heroes make it out safely, but Gideon then flies over in his TIE, begins shooting them. Doesn't manage to kill him on the first flyby. And then Grief begins calling out to Yeatle, come on, baby, do the magic hand thing. And then Yeatle's like... high five. Mando is like, okay, cool, I've got this. Attaches his jetpack, and asterisk on this. It's important to mention that when he was handed Rising Phoenix, that she asks if he's done training in it. He says that he did it when he was a child. She says that he should practice before he uses it. And I like how when he does use it here, it's obvious that he has used it before. Many moons ago, like very long time ago.
This is not like riding a bike.
This is his flying technique is definitely not passable.
Not
he would not get his full license, but he still has to strap it on because he has no reason. But for people like, I saw some people online, I think, who missed the line about him at least using it sometimes when he was a kid. And they're like, how do you use it? She said he had to practice. I'm like, no. He had to practice, but he did know how to use it somewhat because he used one when he was a kid. A training wheel jetpack, I would presume, or something along those lines. He then shoots up, gets onto Gideon, shoots right up as he passes by, grapples onto his ship, flies up. Originally, he's trying to like shoot his way in, not working. Gideon begins. This whole sequence was fucking awesome, by the way. Gideon begins doing like full 360 spins, trying to spin him off and all these sort of things. The entire time, Mando's just fumbling, trying not to fall or do anything terribly. Like, it's not a very smooth victory at all here, but it does work out well in the end. He ends up on the wing. He tries to grab a grenade, which I like how, like, he grabs one, presses a button, then TIE swings a bit and it just goes flying backwards, explodes in the distance. Like, fuck, like that didn't work. So his plan ends up being he finds 2 sticky grenades, I guess, and sticks them on and then jumps off the TIE, and then Grief ends up flying to his doom. Or does he? We'll come back to that. But of course, at the time...
we'll come back to this.
He begins spinning to his doom to the ground below. And Mando... somewhat gracefully. I mean, he doesn't die on the fall back, but it's not like a clean like jetpack, like Superman. Like he just goes like.
It looks like he hurt his knees a bit.
Yeah, I was literally worried that he was about to break his damn legs on the way back down, but yeah. So then Grief and Cara are like, cool, that's over. Do you want to go play craps or something?
Yeah. I didn't love this bit.
Neither did I, because I think this would be my one major criticism for like the dialogue. It just seems so fast and rushed. Like they're like assuming that there's no stormtroopers left, assuming that he's dead. Even with all of that, it's like, can you use like
everything is fine.
Everything's fine. They're like, we're gonna wrap this episode up pretty fast now. Let's just like have the conversation here and like we won't go back for a drink or it was a bit weird. But anyway, Grief tells Mando to come back and be a bounty hunter again. Asks Cara to come work for him. She somewhat says yes, no, but either way says that she's going to stay on the planet anyway. End up being his bodyguard or something, I guess, in the long run. We know. Here's the thing. So she doesn't leave with him, which is annoying because I'm like, my crew, and then they separate them again. I'm like, fuck. Yeah. I really like Cara.
Listen, I want a Firefly-esque family on the ship.
Yes,
that's what I want.
Yeah.
You keep getting rid of everybody. Which makes sense because that Razorback is very small.
I mean, it is, yeah. It needs to upgrade his damn ship is what he needs to do. But also, we know that he's back. We know that she's back, next season. Like that's a solid. She's back. So she's in the show. Okay. But once again, whether or not she's going to show up in episode 3 and then be in it from 3 to 8, or she's going to show up for 1 or 2 episodes, I'm like, I'm glad that I'm glad that I know I'm getting more of her because I really enjoy seeing Gina Carano in this role because I think she's awesome at it and I really like the character, but I still just wish I wish she was just in it the entire thing. Like as you're saying, Firefly family or whatever you want, like on the ship. That's what I want.
Yeah.
As well. So bit annoying, but either way.
Quit separating everybody, Star Wars.
Yeah. Jesus Christ. Grief I can do without, to be honest. Though.
That's fine.
Him character-wise staying makes sense. Cara.
I'm happy with him being a quest giver in the future.
Yeah, that's fine.
Hey, Mando, want to make some money?
Yeah, come do this job. Mando, though, says that he's got more pressing matters to attend to as Yeetal's on the ground grabbing at his leg. So to take off into the sky and fly off and head to the Razor Crest. There we see that Mando has made a grave for Quill, which is nice to see, of course, that he actually went through the effort to do that and confirms that, of course, he is actually dead. He's not coming back. Inside the ship, they're about to head off when Mando sees that Yeetal has his Mandalorian necklace that he gave to Cara at first in case she needed it as a, like, hey, I'm okay, don't shoot me type thing. And that he's wearing it and he tells him to keep it. Which is adorable, but also it's just like, of course, it's like Yeetal's now a family. He's wearing the necklace. Like it's not just he's cute. He's got the necklace on. It's showing you something, obviously. So they take off into the sky, and then we see that Cara and Grief are watching them as they're making their way back to town. That's not the end of the episode, of course. We then cut over to Gideon's ship, where we see some Jawas are very quickly pulling it apart for parts, as they do, little rascals.
Jawas everywhere now, apparently.
Yeah.
They're on every planet.
Well, we saw that was on this one from episode 1 or 2, or 1 or 3 straight away. Like, we knew that was on this planet. That's fine.
Were they?
Yeah, go back. I've seen them before.
Oh, yeah. I thought it was the other planet they went to get.
No. Yeah, they did go to a different planet. Like, Quill's from a different planet. Yeah. They were on that planet. But we already saw those on this planet. Like, they didn't add them into this suddenly at the last episode.
We know now that they're like porgs. They're all over all over the place.
Yeah. Off-world Jawas.
They're like porgs.
They're not.
They're like cane toads. Someone put them on one ship And now they're everywhere. Just pulling apart stuff willy-nilly.
Jawas are not just living on Tatooine, is what the point is, yeah. But then, of course, they're pulling apart, and then all of a sudden you see what appears to be some sort of lasery type thing begins cutting through the ship, and Gideon emerges from the ship holding the Darksaber. Well, yeah, I guess for most people at home is like, oh, he's got a weird black lightsaber.
I was like, oh, he's got a Virablade.
Yeah. Well, I guess it looks like that. It doesn't look like a actual lightsaber, I guess, is the thing. But it is the Darksaber is what he's holding. And the show very much goes like, for people like me who want a good look at that, because it's the first time we've seen it in live action, of course.
Live action.
And I like the way it looks. I think it looks different than how it looks in the animated show, of course, because the animated shows have this certain type of visual flair to them. So it's always going to look somewhat different. But I like the way it looks, and Gideon's got it. And straight away, I'm losing my fucking shit watching this because I'm obviously a big fan of the Clone Wars and Rebels and all these sorts of things. But then I'm also like, okay, I finally have a bad guy with a lot of questions. Like, I had some questions about Gideon at first, of course. I'm like, how'd he survive? Like, what's his deal? Now you tell me that Gideon has the Darksaber. I'm like, what? Like, how the hell did it happen? So instead of trying to go, I opened up Wikipedia because I was like, it's instead of gibbling over here trying to give a explanation of this. So Wikipedia says the Darksaber was an ancient, unique black-bladed lightsaber created by Tar Vizsla, the first Mandalorian ever inducted into the Jedi Order prior to 1019 BBY.
I've heard that name before.
Yeah, I've heard that name before. It's important. The weapon was kept in the Jedi Temple after Vizsla's passings, but members of House Vizsla stole the saber in a conflict with the Jedi during the fall of the Old Republic, something that we haven't actually seen. Everyone wants to see Old Republic stuff, but they have had a flashback to that, so that's like canon. The Darksaber was passed down generation to generation by ancestors of Pre-Vizsla who held onto the weapon even after the pacifist idealists of the new Mandalorians replaced the warrior ways of Mandalore. By 21 BBY, by the way, in case people don't know what BBY is, it stands for Before Battle of Yavin. So that's basically means...
Which is...
which Battle of Yavin is episode 4. Like, Battle of Yavin is the one at the end of A New Hope. So when people
blow up the Death Star.
When they blow up the Death Star, yeah. So whenever people write about Star Wars timelines, BBY means before episode 4, basically, is the easiest way to explain it, yeah. The Darksaber was in the possession of Pre-Vizsla, the leader of Death Watch, and House Vizsla during the Clone Wars. He used the blade during his conflicts with the new Mandalorians, including his successful takeover of Mandalore. After the coup, Darth Maul killed Vizsla and took the Darksaber as his own, becoming the leader of Death Watch. Maul's old master, Darth Sidious, soon arrived on Mandalore to confront his former apprentice, and Maul used the Darksaber against him. Maul was bested in combat, taken prisoner, and held at the Separatist prison, the Spire on Sergon Prime, blah, 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 blah. I'm just going to skip ahead a bit so we get up to date where it was last seen. During the Age of the Empire, the Mandalorian weapons expert and rebel Sabine Wren from the show Rebels, Star Wars Rebels, she's a Mandalorian, by the way, retrieved the Darksaber from the Night Sisters' lair on Dathomir. At the urging of Finn Ray, and her fellow Spectress, Sabine agreed to undergo training with the Darksaber under the tutelage of Jedi Knight Kanan Jarrus. Later, Sabine brought the Darksaber with her and her rebel companions during a mission to Crow's Nest to seek her family's support for the rebellion. Sabine became the rightful wielder of the Darksaber after defeating Viceroy Gar Saxon in a duel. After rescuing her father from Imperial custody and destroying the super weapon she had built while being an Imperial cadet, Sabine gave the Darksaber over to Bo-Katan Kryze. I'm actually saw Kryze, I think, who she's deemed to be the rightful person to lead the Mandalorians against the Empire. Sometime thereafter, the weapon fell into the hands of Moff Gideon. So the last person we saw have it was Bo-Katan. Now that's important because Bo-Katan in Star Wars is voiced by Katie Sackhoff, who most people would know from Battlestar Galactica. So Say We All.
Yeah.
Or one of those things.
So Say We All.
That's the thing I go to for Katie all the time. Right. Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah.
She is returning to voice that character in the Clone Wars in a couple months, which is set before Rebels, nonetheless. But Katie Sackhoff is one of these rare gems that this show would be highly stupid, and I mean stupid, to not ever bring in. And this is what I've been hoping for since they announced it, right? And now that they've brought in the Darksaber, I'm 99% sure that I'm going to see Katie Sackhoff show up season 2. Put my fucking money on it now, not only because I want it, but because it makes sense.
In timeline or flashback?
Timeline. She's alive. She could be a survivor. We don't know how many other survivors from Mandalore are. What's going on, right? But the thing is, it could be both. Yeah. Well, yeah, that's true. But it's just one of those things where it's like you've got a character that is super important to Mandalore. You've got the last character seen wielding the Darksaber, the Mandalorian lightsaber that has history and basically means you're the leader of Mandalore. She was the last person we saw as a leader of Mandalore. And she's not just a voice actress, and I'm not trying to shit on voice actresses or voice actors by saying this. What I mean is that she is someone who is and can...
She's notable.
She can just put on a costume and play the role. You know, like there's no fucking around. Like she can just play her she can play her voice acted role live action with no fucking problems. She'd rock it. And also the fact that she would be a little bit older by now. Katie doesn't look old, but she's certainly older than the character she was voicing at the time in Rebels. So it's all like, fucking go. Let's fucking go, you know? Make it happen. I want to see it. Please make me happy. I mean, this made me happy, but it also made my brain straight away just go, bring me Katie Sackhoff. Bring me. So say we all. This is the way. What more do you want from me? Star Wars is good again. It's saved. So that's the Darksaber. I mean, I'm sorry if I just spoiled a bunch of storylines, but I mean that's the synopsis. And I mean, if you haven't watched it by now, go watch it anyway. I mean, it'll mean more to you watching the fucking storylines. Go watch the Clone Wars episodes. Go watch the Rebels episodes. Catch up before season 2. Do what you need to do. Catch up. I mean, Clone Wars is great anyway. Everyone knows I love Clone Wars. If you listen to Old Grand Explosion, you know I love Clone Wars. Clone Wars is the best Star Wars. So, I mean, that's it. And that's, of course, how the episode ends. We know that there's a Darksaber. Moff Gideon's got it. Our Mando's headed off into space to either, I guess, try and find a Jedi and or another one of Yeetal's kind. Kara and Greef are on this place doing fuck knows what. We've got the cliffhanger thing from Tatooine episode not rolled up. So, yeah, where do you think the second season's going? And where would you like to see it go? Because I feel like I've kind of already answered that question for myself. Obviously, I want to see Katie Sackhoff. I want to see more Mandalorian shit brought into it now that they've kind of shown their hand. They're like, here's the fucking Darksaber. It's just flipped out onto the table. I'm like, yes, please. Where do you want to see it go? Or where do you think it's going to go?
I don't know. I guess he has to figure out where Yeetal came from, I guess. That could be interesting, like trying to piece back his history and how he came to that planet, I guess, that they first went to and where he originated. Where did this species come from? We might finally get answers. Unlikely. I feel like he's just going on a wild goose chase the entire time. And he's just going to end up, you know, I don't know, because there's no Yeetal in Rise of Skywalker or any of the new trilogy. So what happens in that time frame? Bad things? Does something bad happen to, or is he just living on Mandalore?
Just because you haven't seen him, and that doesn't mean that he's not alive at the time. Because you got to remember that
he was on one of those. He was on one of those ships at the end. There you
go. That's how Star Wars works. You find out something and then you rewatch it, and something makes it better. I need to find out lots of things to make that thing better. I'll tell you what. That's my third strike.
3.
The podcast is ended. Fucking hell. Can't help myself. Fucking just slipping out. I think that the show's setup is like, and his journey is going to be, I'm trying to find out what Yeetal is or like where to take him. But I think by the time the show wraps up in however many seasons, the overall story is going to be that Yeetal becomes a Mandalorian. Right? The show's about Mandalorians. It's called The Mandalorian. It's about Mandalorian culture. It's about Mandalorians. It's not about fucking Yoda species. That's like the bait and switch. That's happening.
Tell you what, a couple seasons in, when he gets that helmet, it's going to be the MandaLOREians.
and then you won't be laughing at our name then.
No, we saw it. We saw ahead. Yeah,
saw it ahead.
It's Mandalorians. There's going to be there's a clan of 2. It makes 100% sense. There's 2 Mandalorians.
Everyone doubted us ahead of time. So before we wrap up, I will say that Simon gave us his rating. Simon at Precise Path on Twitter. He gave it an 8.5 out of 10. Really enjoyed it. Brilliantly shot. Excellent action sequences. Good balance of emotion for someone whose face is covered. Would you agree with 8.5? What would you give the season as a whole?
Season as a whole? Mm-hmm. Yeah, probably 8.5.
See, as much as I love this episode, I would still give it a lot. I would still probably only give it like a 7.5. Push it to an 8 probably. 8.5 is a bit high for me. Like, it was good.
You're just hard to please, though.
It was good, but I don't let my love for
too many stormtrooper jokes.
Possibly, I like getting excited, happy about Star Wars, but then still trying. I still try and make sure that my overall I don't get too fanboy swayed into giving it too high scores. He then said, "How long until season 2 till we get a face-to-face combat between Moff Gideon and Mando? And when will Cad Bane / the mystery character rock up reveal?" So for the first question, I'm going to say that we see the two of them face off early and then at the end. So like early face off to like remind viewers of a thing. You know what I mean? Like episode 1 or 2-ish. Like, hey. Or even 3, I guess. If they're doing 8 episodes again, they meet up, they see each other in 3 and then 8. You know what I mean? That'll be my early prediction.
Yeah. Maybe. I'd be interested to see if they continue the same storytelling path as this season, where it's mainly focused on the Mandalorian, or whether they do B plots with other characters.
I don't
point of
think
view.
So.
Yeah.
That'd be weird.
No?
No, I'm against it.
No?
I'm highly against it.
Okay.
I don't like it. Don't like it. And as for his second question, Cad Bane / mystery character, Cad Bane was supposed to show up this season, which was highly disappointing. So Cad Bane will definitely show up next season. Man, if I get live action Katie Sackhoff, fucking Bo-Katan and all that Cad Bane, I'll lose my goddamn mind. Give me live action Ahsoka in this series and I'll quit smoking again, even though I don't smoke anymore.
We won't be able to do the episode. You're passed out from...
Yeah, we're too excited. We won't be able to control myself. The mystery character, I would say that whole thing will get wrapped up next season because that's how it mostly works. It's a red herring in the first season for the second season. Like, that's usually how they
probably first episode. It'll be a first episode reveal. Like, turns out he's got Ming-Na with him, and then, or something.
I could see that. I could see that being a thing, like, especially if like the second season possibly turns into a whole, like, instead of just being chased by random bounty hunters, he's now being chased by a specific group people put together by Moff Gideon to hunt him down, and one of those is her character and maybe
the mystery person
and is in charge of the group and the group on the prison ship possibly, or at least one of those characters maybe, or something along those lines. I could see that being a thing. And like having a constant threat. I mean, season 2 could be more like thriller-ish the entire time. Like this season was like half of that. Of course, we had like 3 episodes of like, there's people after you, bounty hunters. But like maybe the entire second season is like, you've got a very specific group of like 5-6 people after you. And they're after you. And you're going to keep moving while also trying to find where Yoda lives.
Or figure out where to kill him.
Or figure out how to kill him or something like that. Stop and fight. You got to make some new friends and put up a new bunch of people.
He's got a code. He doesn't kill anymore.
Yeah, he doesn't kill anymore.
See?
That's true.
Except he let all the people in that space base die.
That's true.
I'll set you up to be killed, but I won't do it myself.
That's true. That's very, very true. I mean, he gave him a chance. They were going to kill him.
He crossed him.
They crossed that thing. Yeah. I mean, that's it. So that's it for this season of the Mandalorian and this season of the MandaLOREians, of course. So I hope you've enjoyed watching the show and also this show, all the shows of the things. It's very good. Rate it on iTunes, Podchaser. They'll be great ahead of next season. These sorts of things. We'll be back. Jon Favreau did confirm next season's coming Basically the same time. I mean, he said like October, November-ish, so I'd presume it's going to come out roughly around the same time, which is good. I think people are like, how are we getting it so fast? We're getting it so fast because they didn't wait to see if it was a success before doing it. Like, they were already filming the second season before the first season started, you know?
I know we've had shows like Westworld and Game of Thrones and now The Witcher that take a long time to shoot, but generally most shows come out every year.
Yeah, but high budget,
like 95% of shows come out every year.
Yeah, that's true.
It's crazy, but it's true.
I would rather them, if they were waiting to see if it's a success first, I would have rather him not feel rushed with the writing of the stories to get it out a year later. I would rather wait a year and a half and get better stories if that's what's necessary. You know what I mean? But they don't rush.
But it's not.
They're not rushing because he's just wrote it. For all I know, he wrote 3 seasons storyline. Like, for all we know, he's wrote the entire show's outline and he's going off that ahead of time. We don't know how much is going on behind the scenes. Anyway, we'll be back with this show, of course, around that time next year. And until then, you can find more over at explosionnetwork.com and youtube.com/explosionnetwork for podcast things and all sorts of great stuff, including a movie, TV, media, podcast, whatever you want to watch, where we can talk about other things that aren't the Mandalorians, but other things that you watch with your eyeballs. You can follow Explosion Network on Twitter at ExplosionPod. You can follow me on Twitter at Vivaladil, VIVALADIL. You can follow Ash on Twitter at Ashley Holby, ASHLEYHOBLEY. And until next season, we have spoken.
We're going to keep that next season?
I could change it, but I wasn't changing it for the last episode.
No. But he's dead now, so it's never going to be said in the show again.